Okay, so there's so much to talk about. We got a lot of lore this episode, and sometimes that's a bad thing. I think it was actually a little bit too much this episode, but once I watch it again and go through it again, I'll retain it more. Let's try to decipher this as much as we can. So basically, we learn about the story of Hiruko, which in conjunction with the Swamp Man story by Ryunosuke does in fact put together the story of Shide, which we will get into very soon. The dynamics in this conversation between Shinpei and Karakiri are just immaculate. The way it starts off with Shinpei taking control and asking the questions and feeling like he's, kind of alpha at that point, to it flipping around midway and Karakiri just completely overtaking Shinpei, getting him frustrated to the point where he just like, all right, feels like something bad is about to happen. And bad stuff did happen. But I gotta point out this Final Fantasy VII Remake. One of the best Final Fantasy games of all time, easily. I think all newer gen Final Fantasy games should be modeled after that. Turn-based is cool, but the way Final Fantasy VII Remake did their combat system, I was a big fan. But yeah, they're talking about stories, they're having just a conversation, he's interrogating him, I gotta be honest. Shinpei basically describes, along with Hizuru, who Haine is, where she came from. So essentially she was an alien from outer space who transformed into things, eventually made her way down to Earth as a meteor, crashed into the water, presumably, after a couple years became a whale and washed ashore onto the beach where our story takes place, on this island where people were fatigued, they're in famine, they had no food. So when they saw this whale, they're like, hey, this is probably God. So the whale ends up copying the first person that approaches it. And who is it? None other than Haine herself, the original Haine, the daughter of a fisherman. So she gets copied. A lot of other people get copied too. And the fisherman in question is our suspect, Shide, aka Karakiri. Now, you might be wondering, why is this guy look the same if he's from 300 years ago? And the answer is, he has been having babies with his wife, mother, over and over again for years. So basically, he's a shadow human hybrid. The original one had a baby with Haine. Then he had Haine transfer his personality into the baby. And he's been doing that over and over. So he's a really twisted relationship with his mother / wife. There's some stuff about the households being the same between the Karagiris and the Hishigatas, and that was cool, but it wasn't like the most interesting thing. I'll, once I watch this episode again, I'll probably understand it in the full scope of things. But it definitely did expand the world a bit, so definitely should probably pay attention to it. This is when the conversation starts to steer in favor of Shide's side. And how does he do that? Well, he basically rises them up about his parents and all the bad things that he's done and how everything has just happened. And this was the trigger point for Shinpei to look at, just wow. Surprised he didn't bite his lip off. But he basically realized that he should probably, put an end to Shide right here and now. But he's holding back because he doesn't want to be a murderer. So Ushio makes that decision for him and slices his head off. As soon as she does it, even while she's doing it, and after she does it, you could tell that it's probably not the smartest thing to do, and no way this guy was actually dead. He shows up behind them and just puts an end to Ushio. Now, we learned before that Ushio, if she dies before Shinpei, she's done. That's what we learned last episode. So, seemingly, this has happened. So, the thing about Shide is, he's a shadow human hybrid, right? So, he can't make copies, but he can print things and cover himself up with the shadow-like armor that we've seen with the four-arm shadow. The reason why we saw a person inside of him, it was this guy. And he spears Shinpei right through the heart. And this whole sequence right here, I gotta say, was really interesting. I like the POV of Shinpei having the memories that are grayed out. That was pretty cool until Tokiko comes in. And yeah, this face right here, this is just some straight eyes and shit. So respect. So Shinpei gets sent back, and Ushio is not there. Just not there. So basically, the part from the beginning of the conversation until the end was probably some of the best anime I've ever seen. Just the artistic vision, the dialogue, the voice acting, the tension, the escalation of the tension when it comes to just the manner of like by which they were speaking. You could feel like the hairs on the back of your neck rise up when Shinpei starts to lose control of the conversation and all this shit goes down. It also seems like Hizuru has some sort of like premonition about everything and decides to shoot. Not sure what that's about, but I'll go back into it and read more about it. But Shide launches a spear through Shinpei, sends him back in time to a point where he's with the kids and Ushio. Turns out Ushio's not there. If you watch Death Note, then you know what happens at the end and the tension everyone felt when what was happening was happening. Now you can debate about whether you like the ending or not. That's kind of just a discussion that's gonna go on forever. So the tension I felt watching that is something I felt watching this episode, and that's something I don't think I've been able to say for a lot of anime and anime moments, but definitely here. So we'll see next episode whether Ushio's alive or not. Will Shinpei force himself to loop again? What is he gonna do about Shide? If you guys enjoyed the video in this episode, drop a like, hit that sub button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.